Hey gang, it is with a heavy heart that I welcome you back to the second part of Pokemon Ultra Sun's Randomized Nuzlocke on AKALA Island. Now, I chuckle when I mention AKALA Island because it seems like entering here this was going to be peaceful. This is only the second island, it's not going to be that much of an issue for us, but by the time I had finished this island, there were horrors visited upon my team, so horrible that I think my 11-year-old Pokemon trainer is completely scarred for the rest of his life and will never, ever recover from what happened to him. So hopefully you enjoy the terrible journey through AKALA Island that we end up undertaking, and I hope that you like, comment, subscribe, share if you got even a modicum of entertainment throughout this, because this entire island was just blood, sweat, and tears, and it took a lot for me to want to continue going through with this. So yeah, like I said, entering the island, no big deal. We end up meeting up with the kahuna of the island, Olivia, who still remains an S-tier Pokemon design to this day. Like, god damn. What else can we say about that? She had a stranglehold on the fan art community when she was released. You go Google it. Go Google it. You don't need me to tell you this. You have the internet at your fingertips. As we go ahead and head throughout the island, we're getting ready to head over to Route 4 for our first trial. You know, doing the usual, talking with Lily, telling Nebby to get back in his goddamn bag, all of that fun stuff. We even got ourselves a brand new fit so we could go ahead and continue through the island. Needed some glasses, because, you know, I have them in real life, might as well have them here on the island. As we head north throughout the city, we encounter a familiar face, Dexio, wearing a t-shirt that I really wish I actually had in real life. That Alola Executor t-shirt is phenomenal. We ended up fighting him, and initially sent out a Corphish. Not a big deal, definitely something that our team can handle without much fuss. Simple breakneck Blix from Astolfo, and look, that's almost half of its health gone. But then things got a little dicey when Dexio, out of nowhere, decides to chuck a Xurkitree at us. So with a horrendous Ultra Beast in our way, we instructed Don Corleone to use Rollout, and use Rollout as much as humanly possible. I think without that Xurkitree fight would have been a lot harder than it actually was. But it was startling, say the least. And then we let Dexio go on his way, onto the rest of his vacation. And as we head out of the city, we encounter our very first catch of all of AKALA Island, and it is another grass type. Listen, if you watched my last video, you know I am swimming in grass types at this point. I do not need this many grass types, but a catch is a catch, so of course we're going to end up capturing this Skidoo anyways. And we are going to name her something so I can go ahead and connect with the young people. Her name, of course, will be Skibbity Riz. There you go, young people. I feel like I've gotten closer to you with that name. Have you ever wandered through a Dark Souls area with a gross sense of overconfidence just because you felt like your gear was good, you were beating weak enemies left and right, just seemed like you were completely and utterly invincible? That was me at the beginning of this island. We ended up fighting through things like baby Pokemon, super weak Pokemon that we ended up not even needing to worry about. We just knew our victory was assured, and our only bigger assurance was that our EXP pool was going to be very, very small in comparison. And after fighting our way through this completely disarming Pokemon gauntlet, we wandered upon a berry pile that ended up granting us a free bee Pokemon. Remember, encounters like these, we're going to consider the game giving us a blessing, and we are going to be able to catch that Pokemon. So in the berries, we find a Bonesweet, and this will be a surprise tool to help us later. Little did we know how important this Bonesweet was going to become. Finally caught her and named her Bonbon. Pretty cute name, if I gotta say. We wandered into Paniola Town, and we ended up having a Cowboy Red Dead Redemption 2 style duel with Hao as we fought in the middle of the town. Windmills blazing in the background, us ready to see who would take the first shot.
I'd guess coming, I'd fix myself up nice.
Fortunately, his first shot was, again, Combee. Very poor decision on his part for a starter, so we ended up taking that down really quick. The rest of his Pokemon didn't really give us that much of a challenge either, because he ended up having a Zubat, a Coughing, and a Growlithe. Overall stuff our team was easily able to dispatch. How really hasn't been a challenge in the game up through this point. And I don't expect him to become a challenge in the future right now either. Up ahead we find Team Skull hating on a Vulpix. I don't see how they can do that for an Alola Vulpix. It's so stinking cute. And I think you know how this battle ended up going.
Huh?
After, hearing Mallow say that, we ended up hitting our first Pokemon catch of this next area. I was hoping for something good as usual. We've seen so many legendaries randomly show up on this point, and it was a Bouffalant. Definitely not something I was hoping to get. Still, at least it's not a grass type. We're going to give her the needed name of Great Value Tauros. My luck continues to spiral out of control here, because look at this freaking Raikou! I'm never going to catch a legendary Pokemon this run. I swear. That's never going to happen. And of course, we're going to follow it up with a Drillbur. We could have had an Excadrill from this route, a literal uber tier crazy good Pokemon. Immediately followed up by an Arcanine. You know, sometimes you just gotta think that RNG hates you. This is worse luck than I've had in some freaking gacha games. After that disappointing gauntlet, heading up the Pokemon Daycare Center, there's an egg. Yeah, there's totally an egg here. We're going to go ahead and take that and hatch it. You might think this is also going to be a surprise tool to help us later, but the poor Pokemon in this egg is not going to have a very long life, let me tell you that much. Our false sense of security continued up the road. We ended up fighting some double battles for the first time, and even then, nothing was able to take us down. And right here, this moment, this man is where everything on AKALA Island started to go horribly, horribly wrong. Gladian is shown in the game as an absolute monster. His JoJo pose, that look in his eyes, everything about him screams dangerous final boss. And you wouldn't necessarily think that initially if you had played this game before, but in this run of the randomizer, he was turned into an absolute menace. At the start of the battle, he throws out a Fennekin. Not a big deal. We're definitely able to go ahead and handle that quite handily. Then after that, we end up getting a Patrat. Patrat, not super worried about it. Dead immediately. But then here comes Cryogonal. And Cryogonal here immediately hits Don Corleone with Aurora Beam. And we're using Rollout. Rollout is our strategy with Don Corleone. So we have to desperately hope that the next Rollout is able to kill Cryogonal. Of course, it is not, and the Don bites the dust. But wait, it gets even worse. We send out Comey after that, and I completely forget about Comey's subtyping. Desperately hoping that that last hit is able to take down Cryogonal, and it does not. So since we can't outspeed it with Dragon Tail, and we try to use Protect, it seems like everything's going to go fine. We hope he's going to be using a move that's not going to take our team down. No dice. Comey ends up falling due to a tragic misplay on my part. Orin ends up taking Cryogonal down, but that is 2 Pokemon killed by Gladian. I don't know why you're so mad, buddy. You've eliminated 2 of my best Pokemon from this entire run. Go ahead and sulk. That's fine. You say that you slipped up. Well, I'm the one that slipped up. But this is just the beginning. Well, it's time for, I guess, Great Value Tauros and Loom to end up taking those spots. Hopefully, we'll be able to level them up somewhat and have them become decent members of our team. Looking to make up for our losses, we head in to get our first catch of the area, and it's almost as good as the legendary Pokemon. It's a starter in the form of a Piplup. Definitely something that is absolutely worth grabbing, because an Empoleon would be a huge bonus for our team with its moveset. Piplup is going to get the incredible name of Pingu. And we're going to add Pingu to our party immediately, and Loom is going to get chucked back into the box. Honestly, this is a bad decision on my part. I should have kept Loom in there because Breloom is actually a really strong Pokemon. I should have been training it up this entire time. But I mean, this is my first time doing this Nuzlocke run. I'm not looking at any sort of, Pokemon tier lists or anything like that for Nuzlocke. I'm just going and making it based off of my own judgment. So I am going to make mistakes like this. It's just going to happen. And we're going to keep making mistakes until the run is done. Very shortly after catching him in the midst of a double battle, Pingu is going to evolve. For those of you that don't remember from the last video, secondary shops were randomized, and walking into this one, I was absolutely floored by the incredible offerings. Can you imagine in the regular game if you were just allowed to buy leftovers this early? It's absolutely nutty the kind of defensive wall you could create. So I'm going to go ahead and capitalize on here and grab myself leftovers. I need something to edge out this run. Let's be honest. Gladian really gave our team a big hurting. I need a little bit of a pick-me-up. We're now as prepared as can be, still nurturing our egg for Lana's trial at Brooklet Hill. Now, normally this trial is just you chasing a bunch of wishy-washy downstream, but because of the randomizer, well, these aren't wishy-washy. I also don't know why a trainer is here. This doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm trying to do my trial. Why are you here taking a walk with your mouth? Leave me alone. This is official Alola business. Bronzong, Chingling, Fearow, Meowth, Mankey, Caterpie. All things that we needed to fight that should have technically been Wishy-Washy or some sort of other water Pokemon. We finally make our way down to the point where we have to fight the totem Pokemon, whatever the heck it's going to be. But I came to a realization here. I had Rotom friendship on this entire time, well, Rotom hatching, let's say, and I thought for sure my egg was going to hatch before this. So we just need to go ahead and take a second and run around for quite a long period of time because I wanted this egg to hatch at this point. I wanted it to get the experience from the totem Pokemon. I wanted it to try to become a valued member of our team. Took quite a while without a Talonflame to assist, but the egg finally hatches, and it can be literally anything in here. We end up snagging an Electabuzz. Would have been better if it was an Electivire out of the gate. Of course, Electabuzz is going to be unable to evolve since we can't trade, but an Electabuzz can be pretty dang good. It's finally some electric coverage, and we could even make it stronger with Eviolite. So I'm not too upset about this pick. We are going to name her Thunderchan because I am starting to run out of creative names. The battle against our first totem Pokemon on the island, a Totem Electrode, ends with a pretty big thud. I mean, Totem Electrode didn't really do anything, so this was a little bit of a reprieve. I started to get lulled back into a false sense of security regarding the island at this point, but AKALA Island was about to skill check me very, very soon after this. This was going to end up being the totem match that I wish every single totem match had been based off of. Things were going to go south. Lana finally gives us a fishing rod as well on top of the Waterium Z, and this is pretty neat because we're finally going to be able to fish. Not that it necessarily matters because all of the water Pokemon can be literally anything. I was super psyched to use my catch to try to catch a Lombre, but we messed up here and I immediately KO'd it. This would have been wonderful to have, but we just got to take the L on this one. Now with the Waterium Z in hand, we can scare off the Sudowoodo that were blocking the path south. We meet Zacian and Dulce again, and you know, it is time to have another battle. This was originally going to be some sort of crazy Ultra Beast, but we end up fighting a Monferno instead. Really bad to send out Auron to fight this immediately, so we just go ahead and swap over to Pingu, and Pingu with a full force Z move is able to make really quick work of this Monferno. Good God! Past the Sudowoodo, we are greeted to our catch of the area, and it is a good one. A wild Gothitelle shows up. This is a truly phenomenal Pokemon. A lot of people use it as their final ghost type in the games, and it's just got like a really neat design. I love the layers of bows. I love the way Gothorita levels up. I love its animations. This is really a high tier ghost Pokemon in terms of design, in my opinion. Takes us a while, but we end up finally catching it, and we need to name her after a famous anime goth. So we are of course going to name her Misa. Light Yagami is an idiot. There, I said it. And you should all be thinking it too, because I would have just given up being Kira the second she showed up. Let's be honest. Team Skull shows up again. Moving on, we see the #1 killer of our Pokemon enter a battle dome up ahead. So of course, story dictates that we've got to follow him. We end up meeting the Masked Royal, who, you know, looks familiar. Maybe a 10-year-old would be, you know, fooled by this or something. But here we learn about the Battle Royale, which is something I really wish I had been able to opt out of. Because, I mean, just watch how this Battle Royale goes. I think I just need to show you what terrible thing ended up happening here. This Battle Royale is going to be really difficult because I can't lose a single Pokemon. Okay, we got a Combee, we got a Shroomish. Oh, there's the threat. That's absolutely the threat. Or no! The randomizer clearly hates me here. Who gave Gladian a Machamp and just had him take revenge on me by immediately killing Auron? A loss is a loss, though, and Auron has to leave our team as a result of this. This thing we couldn't skip. We just basically ended up getting screwed over by RNG here. Sad, but in the nature of a Nuzlocke, this can just happen sometimes, and we just gotta cry about it, sadly, in a corner. New route, new trial, new Pokemon, and we end up getting something that's very, very exciting. A Samurott jumps us on the Volcano Park path, and this is definitely something we would want to end up grabbing, if at all possible. Samurott is a very, very good starter. Luckily, we end up catching it, and this Samurott is going to have a strong samurai name, so this will be Hideyoshi. Kiawe's trial is interesting. Watch the Marowak dance and see what ends up not being the same in the following dance. It's simple, but things like this are part of why I like the Alola games, having a chance to at least do something a little different with the trials. Every single time afterwards, though, we've got to fight the not Marowaks, and it is the second not Marowak that ends up ruining our day. This guy with this stupid look on his face ends up hurting me deeply. The game again decides to screw me over. One Pokemon, no big deal. I can handle one Pokemon, and it's a Rhyperior. It, of course, has to be a Rhyperior. I am hoping and praying that Abomasnow is able to take this out with a Grass-type attack, and even though it's super effective, Rhyperior's defenses are way too strong. The Rhyperior then somehow outspeeds us, and that is the end of Barack Obama Snow. One hit, and again, just like earlier in our run, the president is down. Hideyoshi is able to clean up the Rhyperior, but that is also a major, major blow to us. Barack Obama Snow put in so much work for our team. He was a pillar, and he was our only Pokemon that had access to a weather ability. He is going to be sorely missed, but that is nothing compared to what comes next. Do you have a Pokemon you're irrationally afraid of? I mean, I'm not necessarily talking about in terms of design or Pokedex entry or anything like that. Just a Pokemon you ended up fighting in a game that has wronged you so deeply, completely ruined your expectations to the point that you will never be able to look at any other way again. It is just put an indelible mark upon your soul that will stay there until the franchise ends up vanishing. For me, after this, that is Purugly. Totem Purugly shows up with a massive attack boost. And when I say massive, I mean our team is immediately in danger. This Purugly also has Hypnosis, so it is able to disable our team. And as just a cherry on top, it's able to summon its ally Pokemon, a Miltank. You probably have memories of Whitney's Miltank. I know the older players out there have memories of Whitney's Miltank. This is about 100 times worse. Misa, dead. Pingu, dead. I tried very hard using so many potions to try to save Hideyoshi. At the end of the day, dead. It's all down to Loom, showing here that this is a Pokemon we should have been leveling this entire time.
heard these words before, but I'll teach you what they really